Next in order of appearance would be Senator Lankford.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thanks to all the witnesses and for your ongoing work and for being here in your preparation today on it. I really do appreciate it. I am, like a lot of other folks, my family is taking care of elderly parents, and MA has been a huge asset to us because it keeps everything all together. We're able to help manage all that and to be able to go through the options on it. So I'm one of many folks that are grateful for it, but also have questions on how it actually operates and how things actually work. The medical loss ratio piece about this and the gift cards that we've already talked about and such, where that actually gets listed and how plans actually file that as medical expenses gets a little iffy in the process. Are there specific things that you could share that you would say, we can solve some of this by just not allowing the gaming of the system of how they define these gift cards and things and what they apply for, to be able to make sure people are actually focused in on the healthcare side of things rather than on the free cash side of things? Is that a definitional issue that we need to resolve? And I'm fine with anyone who wants to take that on.
I would say I appreciate you pointing out there technically is a limit on what is supposed to be spent for on administrative costs. But I think this is where I'd say that more transparency, to your point, perhaps a better definition on what are administrative costs, what truly are benefit costs, could be very helpful. And then anytime you require that transparency, making sure there are enough audits to verify that folks are completing as intended and not getting creative with how they complete the forms.
Okay. Any other suggestions on what that definition could or should be?
Thank you for the question. I think about this as really a combination of health and financial expenses. Many people, when they're enrolling in a Medicare plan, do have to make both health and financial trade-offs. And so the question is, how do we make it more transparent to consumers, the all-in cost, the all-in health coverage that they're getting, and whether those dollars come out of Part A or Part B or Part C or Part D with regard to the plan, and which budget allocation I think is secondary to the consumer, but probably very important to the system.
Okay, I want to drill down a little bit more on what Senator Cortez Masto was talking about, the advertising. We've got advertising is one thing, things that are coming in online or on the television. It's another issue when I've got seniors that literally every single day get a call. Day after day, they're getting calls on it. That is, they're furious about it, obviously. But again, this is a business that's trying to be able to reach out to potential customers. We also have that we want to be able to maintain the options and the awareness of it. How do we strike a balance on that? Because my seniors are sick of all the calls coming in on it.
If I may, our seniors are sick of it too. Yeah. When we are at public events, they approach us afterward with their phone saying, how do I make it stop? And we ask them, they're on the do not call list. That's not enough. And Ohio also is home to, I think, over 250,000 independent agents that want to do right by their consumers. And that's not where these calls are generated from. It's often the lead agencies and these third parties. And I believe if the plans were held accountable for the actions of those middlemen, those entities, it might curb some of those calls.
Okay. What would that accountability look like?
I think punishments for the plans, whether it impacts their star rating on the Medicare tool or financial penalties, that would be determined up above.
Okay. Let me follow up another question on this. Medicare Advantage, and this takes a little bit off topic on this, but the issue with some of my rural hospitals especially, they're getting more and more frustrated with the denials that happen. Just an automatic, it's going to be denied. So trying to get the pre-authorization in process so that they're not going to have denials, or to be able to have a predictability in the process. What we're seeing is literally in my state, we have some hospitals now that just won't take Medicare Advantage, period. They just cut everybody off and said we can't do it because we can't afford the constant chasing for all the denials. So that is exactly the opposite of what we want to be able to create here. What are you hearing on that, and what are alternatives that you would see?
Yeah, so I appreciate the question in particular. We serve a very rural population, and our goal is always to partner. I mean, we're part of an integrated health system, so I think that really helps us in thinking about the provider's perspective when it comes to a variety of issues, including prior authorization, as you mentioned. But we spend a lot of time making sure we work closely with our rural facilities. It is absolutely imperative, right, that our seniors can get in for care when they need it, and that we're not putting up unnecessary barriers to necessary care. This is a priority for us to make sure that we're partnering, particularly in those rural areas where there's not a lot of options, so that our seniors can get in for care when they need it.
Okay, thank you. Chairman, Ranking Member, thank you for holding the hearing on this, but this is something we've talked about before with if they're on a provider list, but they're actually not a provider that's out there, that's frustrating in many ways. But if you are a provider and you're told that Medicare covers this and you just get an automatic denial for it every time, that also disincentivizes them to be able to be a provider. So I do think we need to work on both sides of this issue as well.
It's an important point. Senator